Long before Columbus, long before Jamestown, and long before the founding fathers etched their names into history, there stood an empire, not in the distant jungles of the Amazon or the great deserts of Africa, but right here in the heart of what is now the United States. Cahokia, a city so vast, so advanced, and so mysterious that most Americans have never even heard its name. At its peak around 1100 AD, Cahokia was larger than London. It boasted towering pyramids, complex roadways, and astronomical observatories. Tens of thousands lived here in organized neighborhoods. Temples rose toward the heavens, and deep beneath the surface, secrets still sleep. So why did it vanish? Why is America's first true city missing from our history books? And what can the silence of Cahokia teach us about our own civilization? It began slowly. A few villages along the Mississippi River, simple homes, a reliance on maize, the steady rhythm of life tied to the floodplain. But then something changed. By the year 1000 AD, those scattered settlements had merged into a sprawling metropolis. At its core rose the colossal Monk's Mound, a man-made pyramid so massive it covers 14 acres and stands 10 stories high. No wheels, no beasts of burden, yet they moved millions of cubic feet of earth by hand. The city expanded rapidly. Grid-planned neighborhoods, sacred plazas, and elevated walkways lined with wooden palisades. At its height, Cahokia was home to over 20,000 people, as many as medieval Paris. What drove this explosion? Trade, religion, a visionary leader lost to time? What we do know is this: Cahokia became a magnet. People from across the continent arrived, bringing ideas, rituals, and resources. Obsidian from the Rockies, shells from the Gulf Coast, copper from the Great Lakes. Reverent, this wasn't just a city. It was a spiritual and economic capital, a Native American Mecca, a place where the stars guided kings and the earth whispered to priests. What was it like to live in Cahokia, the greatest city you've never heard of? At its peak around 1100 CE, Cahokia pulsed with life. Over 20,000 people, more than medieval London, filled its vast wooden palisades. The air was thick with smoke from hearths, the rhythm of drums echoing from ceremonies atop the mounds. Streets were planned, neighborhoods organized. Farmers worked in communal fields while traders crossed vast distances, bringing obsidian from the Rockies, copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf. This wasn't a village. It was a network, a node of power in a continental system. The centerpiece? Monk's Mound, a 100-foot earthen pyramid requiring more material than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Atop it, a great temple, possibly the home of the sun priest or a ruler god the people revered. Around it, plazas used for mass gatherings and the mysterious Woodhenge, a solar calendar of giant wooden poles used to track solstices and equinoxes. It shows astronomical understanding we rarely associate with prehistoric North America. Daily life was filled with both hardship and beauty, feasts, games, rituals, and perhaps human sacrifice. Archaeological digs at Mound 72 uncovered a burial of a high-status man surrounded by over 50 sacrificed individuals, a glimpse into beliefs as complex and intense as any empire. How does a city larger than London just vanish? Around 1350 CE, Cahokia was already unraveling. Its bustling plazas grew quiet. Construction of new mounds stopped. The once vibrant urban pulse began to fade. But why? The truth is, we don't know for certain. And that mystery haunts archaeologists to this day. One theory points to environmental collapse. The city had swelled beyond its natural limits. Massive deforestation to build homes and firewood likely caused flooding and erosion. Croplands degraded. The climate may have shifted, possibly due to the Little Ice Age, shortening growing seasons and creating food shortages. But it wasn't just nature turning on them. Evidence suggests social unrest. As the ruling elite expanded their power, inequality may have bred discontent. Burial mounds show elites living far better lives than commoners. Did the people begin to lose faith in their leaders and gods? There is also the possibility of external conflict. Cahokia's influence stretched far, over rival tribes, trade routes, and territories. Could it have sparked resistance, a war, a revolt? Then, there's the ritual silence. After centuries of complex ceremony, mound building and offerings suddenly stopped, as if a cultural spell had been broken. By 1400 CE, Cahokia was abandoned. No written record, no burning cities, just silence. The land reclaimed its history, burying a once great civilization beneath forests and farms. And here's the most chilling thought. They didn't disappear because they were weak. They vanished because they were us. Beneath the fields of Illinois, something slept for centuries. When early French explorers arrived in the 1600s, they saw the mounds, giant earthen structures, but dismissed them as natural hills. Even American settlers in the 1800s plowed through them, unaware they were destroying one of the greatest cities North America had ever known. It wasn't until the 20th century that archaeologists began to understand what Cahokia truly was. They uncovered massive wooden post circles, like a prehistoric solar calendar. They unearthed burial pits, tools, trade items from distant lands, and ceremonial plazas once filled with tens of thousands. And then came the greatest realization. Cahokia wasn't isolated. Its influence stretched across the Mississippi, connecting vast trade networks, shaping cultures, and leaving behind spiritual and architectural legacies. Yet, the city was gone, abandoned, buried, forgotten by history books. So why does this matter now? Because Cahokia challenges our understanding of America's past. It proves that complex societies rose and fell here long before Columbus, and that history, true history, is often hidden just beneath our feet. Imagine a different America, one where Cahokia never fell. A thriving civilization at the heart of North America, with its own language, its own gods, its own architecture, evolving for centuries alongside the Aztecs, Incas, and European powers. By the time Columbus arrived, he wouldn't have encountered wilderness, but a complex empire of cities, trade routes, and temples. a place where Mississippian astronomy could rival Mayan mathematics, where mound builders became steel forgers. Would the United States even exist? Or would we speak a different tongue, worship different deities, and tell our children myths of the Europeans who once tried to cross the ocean? And most hauntingly, what wisdom, what lost knowledge vanished when Cahokia crumbled? Beneath the soil of Illinois, the silence is deafening. Once, this land echoed with drums, laughter, chants, and footsteps, tens of thousands of them. But now, all that remains are silent mounds, like the ribs of a buried giant no one remembers. Cahokia wasn't just a city, it was a statement. A testament that before European sails ever touched American shores, a civilization thrived here, complex, spiritual, organized, and mighty. Yet for centuries it was omitted from history books. Why? Was it easier to believe that advanced civilization came only after European contact? Was Cahokia's legacy inconvenient to the myth of the New World? Or was it just forgotten? The truth is, we may never know the full story, but the evidence is there, beneath highways, shopping malls, and farmlands, waiting for us to ask the right questions, waiting for us to remember. And here's where the what-if twist begins. What if Cahokia had never fallen? What if, instead of vanishing, its influence had stretched outward, sparking an enduring civilization that shaped the very foundation of what we now call the United States? Would we speak different languages, worship different gods? Would pyramids of earth replace towers of steel? Perhaps we're not so different after all, from those ancient hands that moved the earth with vision, ambition, and dreams. Because maybe, just maybe, Cahokia never truly disappeared. Maybe it's just waiting to be rediscovered by you.